Welcome back to the Archive Network. Aurelius here, with Malik, curators of the Civilization Archive. We left Viking civilization last time at Yet. Even as the old world faded, its echoes remained. Today we pick up where we left off. The winds of change swept through the north. Once, the Vikings had dominated both land and sea. Their longships pierced the icy waters, a testament to their prowess. Now, however, their world was shifting. Monarchs rose, traditions faded, and the heart of Norse society was tested on every front. The 11th century brought upheaval and uncertainty.
Aurelius, it's important to remember that these changes weren't merely a product of time. They were a response to the pressures of a complex world. The rise of monarchs like Olaf and Chinot wasn't just about power. It was a shift in how people viewed authority. The old assemblies, the things, lost their voice as the kings consolidated power. This wasn't just a natural progression. It was an imposition on the very fabric of Norse culture.
True, but it was inevitable. The traditional power structures were always vulnerable to centralization. As those kings united the lands, they imposed laws that replaced the old ways. The change was swift. Stone churches rose, replacing sacred oaks. The heart of Norse society was driven into a new age, whether they welcomed it or not.
But consider the consequences of this shift. The rise of Christianity under royal patronage didn't merely replace old gods. It erased a way of life. Temples fell, and the old rituals vanished. People buried their dead with fewer grave goods, as if they were abandoning their past. This wasn't just change. It was cultural erasure. The voices of the skalds who mourned their heroes drowned in the silence of new prayers.
You're not wrong about that. The old ways were silenced, but the church provided a new order. Still, the transition was fraught with conflict. Some clung fiercely to their beliefs, even facing violence. The missionaries met resistance, a reflection of the struggle between two worlds. This clash was inevitable as one faith sought to replace another.
And while this clash unfolded, the Viking economy began to falter. Trade routes that once flowed with silver were disrupted. The bustling marketplaces became ghost towns, stripped of their vibrancy. This wasn't just a decline. It was a collapse of a way of life. The once thriving trade networks could no longer support the people. The echoes of their laughter faded into silence.
Decline, yes. But it's noteworthy how that decline mirrored the political upheaval. At Birka and Hedeby, warehouses lay abandoned, left to the ravages of time. The loss of trade was a direct consequence of the internal strife. Economies crumble when leadership fails. This is what empires do. They fall apart when their foundations are shaken.
Yet, it wasn't only leadership that faltered. The very environment was changing too. In Greenland and Iceland, harsh climates took their toll. Fields shrank, and people left their homes behind. This wasn't just economic hardship. It was a human tragedy. The bones of cattle disappeared, replaced by fragile fish bones. It was a desperate adaptation to survive.
The environment shifts, yes, but one cannot ignore the social changes as well. The old system of thralls and free farmers was dismantled. New tensions arose as the church demanded obedience. Monarchs sought taxes and loyalty. In Iceland, chieftains turned against one another, fueling feuds that left scars on the landscape. This was a society on the brink of collapse.
And in that chaos, violence erupted. The St. Brice Day massacre targeted Norse settlers in England. It was an act of desperation and fear, filled with bloodshed and screams. This wasn't merely a conflict. It was a culmination of resentment. The old and new clashed violently. Temples burned, and sacred symbols were reduced to ash. This marked a dark turn in the Viking saga.
The final act came in 1066. Harald Hardrada, the last of the great Viking kings, sailed for England. His high hopes ended on the battlefield at Stamford Bridge. The clash of armies and the fall of their king marked the end of an era. The longships, once symbols of expansion, now lay beached and broken. The Viking Age was irrevocably over.
Yet, even as the old world faded, its echoes remained. The sagas, carved stones, and silent ruins still whisper of their existence. The kingdoms of Scandinavia joined Christian Europe, but the memory of the Vikings lingers. Their legacy is complex, filled with both glory and tragedy. We must remember that while their age ended, their impact on history remains.
That's true, Malik. The echoes of the past are a reminder of what once was. Yet, it's essential to observe how history reshapes identity. The Vikings may have been transformed by these events, but they also left a lasting imprint on the world. From their ruins, we can trace the threads of their influence on modern Europe. Their story is one of resilience in the face of inevitable change.
That's where we leave it this time. Viking civilization continues. The story isn't finished yet. Find the full series on the Civilization Archive, part of the Archive Network. We'll be back with the next chapter.